Have you ever walked into a room and immediately noticed that um, that one person who just seemed to command all the attention?
Oh, definitely.
Or perhaps you've seen a name seemingly pop up everywhere, dominating headlines, trending online, becoming utterly unforgettable.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right? How do they do that?
Exactly. What if that magnetic pull wasn't just innate charm or pure luck, but a carefully orchestrated strategy? Maybe even an art form honed over centuries.
It's a compelling idea, isn't it? That presence isn't merely an intrinsic quality, but something that can be meticulously cultivated, almost, engineered.
Right.
And often, as our deep dive today reveals, it's about far more than just natural charisma. It's about understanding these, fundamental principles of human perception.
Absolutely. Today, we're diving headfirst into that fascinating and, let's be honest, sometimes pretty controversial realm of attracting and relentlessly maintaining attention.
Hmm.
We've taken a stack of sources, historical accounts, psychological analyses, strategic blueprints, and they all seem to converge on one incredibly potent, maybe even ruthless core principle.
Yeah.
You must court attention at all costs.
Our mission in this deep dive is to truly unpack the strategies, delve into these really rich historical examples, and uncover the critical nuances of becoming an absolute magnet for attention.
Okay.
We'll explore two primary yet seemingly opposing pathways to achieving this. First, by deliberately surrounding yourself with the sensational and scandalous.
Mhm.
And then on the flip side, by creating an impenetrable, really alluring air of mystery.
And crucially, we won't just tell you how these tactics work. We'll also look at the vital considerations for when to unleash them, and perhaps even more importantly, when you need to judiciously pull back.
Yeah, that's key.
Get ready for some serious aha moments, because what you're about to hear might just fundamentally reshape how you perceive, every public figure, every brand, every headline you encounter.
What's truly foundational to this whole discussion is the argument from our sources that the fundamental judgment of everything is its appearance.
Its appearance, yeah.
What remains unseen, they assert, effectively counts for nothing. Therefore, the overarching goal is never to get lost in the noise, never be buried in oblivion.
Right.
You need to consistently stand out, to be conspicuously visible, and to make yourself an irresistible magnet of attention by appearing larger, more colorful, more intriguing, and yes, sometimes more scandalous than the vast, often bland and timid masses around you.
Okay, let's unpack this with our first major strategy, one that seems to fly right in the face of conventional wisdom. Surround your name with the sensational and the scandalous. Now, my initial reaction to this is, wait, isn't that incredibly risky? Doesn't bad press often lead to ruin? It fundamentally challenges what we're typically taught about cultivating a positive, unblemished reputation.
It absolutely does, and that's precisely the counterintuitive core of this strategy. Our sources fundamentally argue that in the relentless battle for visibility, the quality of attention is often secondary to its sheer existence.
Just getting noticed is the point.
Exactly. They posit that notoriety of any sort, whether it's through praise, harsh criticism, or even outright slander, brings a unique form of power. It's almost brutally pragmatic.
Yeah.
It's far better to be attacked, ridiculed, or even hated than to be utterly ignored.
Wow.
This challenges our ingrained belief that, a purely positive image is the only path to influence.
And that's the truly shocking part, isn't it? We inherently shy away from controversy, from anything that might tarnish our image.
Yeah.
Yet this deep dive suggests that scandal, when strategically deployed, can be a potent asset.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what does this tell us about human nature itself? That we are so viscerally drawn to controversy even when we consciously condemn it. It suggests a deep-seated fascination with the transgressive, maybe that rubbernecking impulse we can't quite shake.
It speaks to our insatiable curiosity or our desire for drama and just the way our brains prioritize novelty and intensity. And to truly illustrate this, we have to talk about the undisputed master of this, let's call it dark art, P.T. Barnum.
Ah, Barnum, of course.
This man wasn't just a showman, he was a blueprint for notoriety, a true masterclass in turning public fascination, even outrage, into an empire. Let's begin with an early, almost fatal lesson he learned, an incident known as the Reverend Avery hoax back in 1836.
Okay, paint the picture. Imagine this. Barnum, a young, aspiring showman, he's in Annapolis, Maryland, working as an assistant. He's taking a leisurely stroll, looking quite dapper in a brand new black suit, when he notices people starting to follow him. The murmurs grow louder, and then a shout from the crowd. There he is. That's Reverend Ephraim K. Avery.
And Avery wasn't just any reverend.
No. He was an infamous figure, recently acquitted of a brutal murder, but still widely believed by the public to be guilty.
Right, so not someone you want to be mistaken for?
Definitely not. And this wasn't a mere misunderstanding that politely faded away. The angry mob, convinced they had found the villain, quickly closed in. In a terrifying turn, they actually tore off Barnum's brand new suit.
Oh my God.
And he found himself in imminent danger of being lynched right there on the street. It was only after desperate pleas and a frantic promise to lead them to the circus tent, where he hoped to verify his identity, that he managed to, placate them.
Wow.
Once there, his boss, a man named Aaron Turner, stepped forward and with a mischievous grin confirmed it was all a practical joke. The crowd dispersed, leaving Barnum shaken to his core, but with a profound, if terrifying, new insight.
Shaken, but with a truly brutal wisdom forged in that crucible of near death. Barnum was, understandably, furious, demanding to know what could have possibly possessed his boss to play such a dangerous trick.
Right, I would be too.
Turner's reply, however, became legendary.
"My dear Mr. Barnum," he supposedly said, "it was all for our good. Remember, all we need to ensure success is notoriety."
Notoriety. Not fame, not respect. Notoriety. Exactly. And the proof was immediate and undeniable. Everyone in town, absolutely everyone, was buzzing about the joke, the near lynching, the circus. That night, the circus tent was packed to capacity, and it remained so for every night it stayed in Annapolis.
So the lesson was instant.
Barnum had learned a lesson he would never, ever forget. Controversy, even life-threatening controversy, could be a staggeringly powerful tool for publicity, directly translating to crowds and profit.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this incident taught Barnum the immediate and tangible power of attention, regardless of its source or, its initial negative valence.
Absolutely. It demonstrated how creating a stir, even a deeply unsettling one, could instantly thrust his venture into the public eye and directly translate to ticket sales. It's a raw, unfiltered example of the any attention is good attention philosophy, illustrating its shocking effectiveness when applied with strategic ruthlessness.
And Barnum didn't just learn that lesson, he internalized it, building an entire empire on its principles. He took it and truly ran with it, transforming his American Museum in New York into what can only be described as a spectacle-generating machine, always buzzing with public fascination.
Yeah, that museum was something else.
Let's delve into some of his most outlandish creations there. Take the mysterious Brick Man. This is brilliant. Barnum employed a beggar, not out of charity, but for an ingenious, almost surreal stunt designed purely to pique public curiosity.
He gave this man 5 ordinary bricks and very specific instructions. Walk slowly through several city blocks, making sure to lay down 1 brick at certain seemingly random points, always keeping one in hand.
Okay.
On the return journey, he was to replace each brick on the street with the one he held. All the while, he was to maintain a perfectly serious, inscrutable expression, answering no questions whatsoever.
Just stone-faced.
Exactly. Once back at the museum, he'd enter, walk around inside for a bit, then leave through the back door and repeat the entire bizarre circuit, over and over.
The effect was truly remarkable, like a viral sensation for its era. Imagine the bustling streets of New York, right? Filled with the usual cacophony, when suddenly this solemn man appears, engaged in this utterly inexplicable ritual.
People must have been baffled.
On his first circuit, perhaps a few hundred paused, intrigued, whispering, "What on earth is he doing?" But as he continued, word spread like wildfire. By his 4th circuit, literally thousands were swarming, a buzzing, debating crowd trying to decipher this perplexing riddle. Was it art? Madness? A protest? The sheer enigma was irresistible.
And here's the absolute genius part.
All right, get this. Every time he entered the museum, a significant portion of that captivated crowd, desperate for an answer to the Brickman mystery, would follow him inside, buying tickets just to continue their vigil.
Ah, brilliant.
Barnum knew once they were inside, many would get delightfully distracted by his other curiosities, the giant, the oddities, the exotic animals, and stay, effectively turning pure, unadulterated curiosity into profitable ticket sales. It shows how the inexplicable, the utterly bizarre, can act as a powerful magnet.
It's pure psychological mastery. And speaking of ingenious, he also had his famous free music for the millions.
Oh, I love this one.
Barnum hired the absolute worst musicians he could possibly find, true masters of discord, and placed them on a balcony overlooking the street under a huge banner boldly promising free music for the millions.
So people came expecting a treat.
New Yorkers, ever keen for a bargain and a novelty, flocked in droves, expecting a generous gesture and perhaps some pleasant melodies.
But the generosity was, of course, a complete ruse. The music was so catastrophically bad, so agonizingly off-key and loud, that the noise became unbearable. People didn't just listen, they recoiled.
Yeah.
They booed, they covered their ears, and then in a stroke of absolute genius, they hurried to buy tickets to the museum where they would be safely out of earshot of the band's discordant sounds and the general uproar of the street.
So the bad music drove them inside.
Exactly. It was an incredibly shrewd way to leverage unwanted attention, the terrible noise and public irritation into desired action ticket sales. This truly shows a deep, almost cynical understanding of human psychology. People will often pay to escape discomfort, and Barnum capitalized on it with a showman's flair. He essentially weaponized irritation to drive traffic.
Barnum was also a master of the double bluff, or perhaps the self-generated controversy. Consider the case of Joyce Heth.
The supposed 161-year-old nurse of George Washington.
That's the one. He promoted this enslaved woman with that incredible claim. For months, this drew significant crowds. But when public interest inevitably started to wane, as it often does with any long-running attraction, Barnum didn't just let her fade into obscurity.
No, he pulled a move worthy of a modern viral marketer. Barnum himself sent an anonymous letter to various newspapers, leaking a sensational claim. Heth was a fraud.
He outed his own attraction.
Well, he claimed she was an automaton, made up of whalebone, India rubber, and numberless springs. This wasn't just a rumor. It was a carefully planted, self-sabotaging story designed to reignite the flames of public interest.
And the twist was brilliant in its effectiveness. Those who hadn't bothered to see her before were suddenly intensely curious. Was she truly a mechanical marvel disguised as a human?
Right. They flocked to witness this alleged automaton.
And those who had already seen her paid again, eager to determine if the robot rumor was true, searching for mechanical seams or telltale springs.
It's genius.
This highlights a powerful strategy: generating controversy, even fabricating internal attacks on your own product or persona to reignite public interest. The narrative shifted from aged wonder to clever fraud, but the common thread was always keeping her, and by extension, Barnum's museum, squarely in the limelight.
And then there's the legendary Fiji mermaid hoax of 1842, a masterclass in media manipulation. Barnum acquired what he touted as a mermaid carcass, which wasn't real, of course. No, it was in reality a clever, though somewhat grotesque, taxidermy piece, expertly put together in Japan, the head and torso of a monkey, skillfully stitched onto the body of a fish.
Okay. Disturbing.
Right. Rather than simply displaying it, he launched this sophisticated campaign. He planted articles in newspapers around the country, subtly hinting at the capture of a genuine mermaid in the Fiji Islands, and even sent out intriguing woodcut prints of mermaid paintings to stir anticipation.
This carefully orchestrated campaign sparked a national debate over the very existence of mythical creatures. Suddenly, respected scientists, religious leaders, the general public, they were all vigorously discussing mermaids as if they were a concrete, undeniable possibility, even though just months before, no one had given such a notion a second thought.
It's incredible.
Crowds flocked in record numbers to see the Fiji mermaid, and more importantly, to hear and engage in the fervent discussions it provoked. Barnum literally created a conversation out of nothing, transforming a known hoax into a subject of fervent national interest, demonstrating the immense power of suggestion and shrewd media manipulation to control the public narrative and, crucially, to draw monumental attention.
It's almost absurd, isn't it? The sheer audacity to take a monkey and a fish, slap them together, and then spark a national debate about mythical creatures.
It makes you wonder what kind of collective delusions we're all susceptible to, even today, when a narrative is crafted with such cunning. We're still so drawn to the sensational, no matter how flimsy the evidence.
My favorite, though, is how Barnum managed to penetrate even the most staid and conservative echelons of society. He toured Europe with a young boy named Charles Sherwood Stratton.
General Tom Thumb.
Exactly. A 5-year-old dwarf from Connecticut, whom Barnum, with characteristic flair, presented as General Tom Thumb, an 11-year-old English boy trained in remarkable acts. Barnum meticulously groomed him, teaching him to sing, dance, and impersonate famous figures.
General Tom Thumb's fame grew so immense so rapidly that Queen Victoria herself, known for her sobriety and strict adherence to protocol, was utterly captivated.
The Queen.
Really?
Yes, she requested not just a public performance, but a private audience with Barnum and his talented dwarf at Buckingham Palace. This wasn't just a casual invitation, it was a profound endorsement from the highest authority, solidifying Barnum's and Tom Thum's status.
This truly drives home the point that even the most staid and powerful figures, the least susceptible perhaps to common theatrics, can be drawn in by extraordinary and meticulously marketed spectacles. The Queen's request demonstrated the universal appeal of something truly unique and brilliantly publicized. Yeah, the English press might have initially ridiculed Barnum, but Victoria was royally entertained and, more importantly, respected him ever after. It shows that the reach of this attention-courting strategy is truly boundless, transcending social strata and initial skepticism.
So after witnessing Barnum's masterclass in orchestrating everything from near lynchings to fake mermaids, it becomes clear there was a unifying philosophy driving his relentless pursuit of the spotlight. What was really at the heart of his approach to attention?
He fundamentally understood that every crowd has a silver lining. He observed that human beings, when presented with something intriguing, act in conjunction, gathering like dust bunnies, as he put it.
Ah, dust bunny.
And with a gentle strategic push, they'll move towards your attraction. You have to do something different and odd, something that disrupts the mundane. Any kind of curiosity, he knew, serves the purpose, as crowds are magnetically attracted by the unusual and inexplicable.
And once you have their attention,
You never, ever let it go. You create a spectacle, you make noise, and you keep them talking.
And here's the crucial, often uncomfortable point. The quality of attention for Barnum was utterly irrelevant.
That's the hard part to swallow.
He famously never complained about bad reviews, slanderous personal attacks, or accusations of being a humbug. In fact, if a newspaper critic reviled him particularly harshly, he'd go out of his way to invite that man to an opening, giving him the best seat in the house, knowing the critic would then write something about him, good or bad.
He even uses critics.
He would even at times write anonymous attacks on his own work or attractions, just to keep his name in the papers, ensuring a constant buzz of conversation. From Barnum's vantage, attention, whether negative or positive, was the main ingredient of his success. The worst fate for a man who yearns for fame, glory, and power he profoundly understood is to be ignored.
It's like that old Indian fable of Kintail the Wasp, right? Who stung prince and courtiers, not out of malice, but purely to become famous at any cost before expiring, saying, "A name without fame is like fire without flame."
It's a brutal philosophy, but incredibly effective. Think about modern influencers or brands. Don't we see clear echoes of Barnum's strategies in their relentless pursuit of virality, even if it's for something controversial, purely to stay relevant, to keep their names circulating in the digital ether?
Absolutely. The principles remain strikingly relevant, just adapted to new media, new platforms. This leads us to consider how to establish and maintain your unique image, recognizing that attracting attention is, in essence, a learned skill, far more than an innate quality.
Okay, so how do you learn it?
Our sources say that at the start, you must deliberately attach your name and reputation to a distinct quality or image that immediately sets you apart from others, be it a characteristic style of dress, a memorable personality quirk, or a specific brand of outrageousness. This establishes your unique place in the sky for your star, carving out a mental niche in the public's mind.
Here's where it gets really interesting and counterintuitive again. It's a common mistake, the sources argue, to believe your public appearance shouldn't be controversial or that being attacked is inherently detrimental.
Right, we think controversy is bad.
Nothing, they insist, could be further from the truth. To avoid being a mere flash in the pan, someone quickly forgotten, you must not discriminate between types of attention. Barnum, as we saw, famously embraced being a humbug, reveling in the very accusations of fraud because it kept him in the public discourse. It's a stark lesson. It's better to be attacked, slandered, even hated, than to be overlooked.
We see this historically with figures who dared to be different. Take Orsak and Diocles, who, in ancient courts, used outlandish paper costumes and disguises like that of Heracles. Their sheer peculiarity made them impossible to ignore, gaining them access and attention from emperors who might otherwise have just dismissed them. Their strangeness was their calling card.
Right.
Or consider the Duc de Lauzun, the extravagant court of Louis XIV. Despite being physically short and notoriously insolent, he famously slept with the king's mistress and openly insulted courtiers and even the king himself.
That takes guts. Or foolishness.
Right. But his strangeness and unpredictable behavior were so beguiling that Louis XIV, despite his power, couldn't bear his absences. He was simply talked about more than anyone else. His eccentricities, though offensive to some, made him kind of indispensable in a court overflowing with sycophants.
And for a more aggressive approach, consider Pietro Aretino, a young Roman servant boy of the early 16th century. Wanting desperately to gain attention as a writer, he didn't gently introduce himself or seek patronage. He launched an immediate, audacious attack.
What did he do?
He published a series of wildly satirical poems ridiculing the Pope and, specifically, his affection for a pet elephant.
Wow, attacking the Pope and his elephant.
Exactly. This calculated, scandalous attack immediately thrust Aretino into the public eye, generating immense buzz, both positive and negative. While our sources caution that such shock tactics should be used sparingly after gaining initial attention, it vividly demonstrates the raw power of strategic outrage to cut through the noise.
This raises an important question, though. How do you maintain attention once you have it, preventing people from growing bored or feeling they've, figured you out?
Pablo Picasso is a prime example of sustained, deliberate disruption. He never allowed himself to fade into predictable familiarity.
He kept changing styles, right?
Constantly. If his name became too closely associated with one artistic style, say, Cubism, he would deliberately upset the public with new, unexpected, often ugly and disturbing paintings, completely departing from what was expected.
So he provoked them on purpose.
This constant reinvention kept viewers perpetually on edge, preventing them from growing too familiar and believing they could predict his next move. The sources explain that people feel superior to the person whose actions they can predict. By constantly playing against expectations, Picasso not only maintained respect and awe, but exerted significant control over public perception and their fleeting attention.
Even in the supposedly rational realm of science and invention, this law of power holds true. Thomas Edison, the legendary inventor, wasn't just a brilliant scientist. He was also a master showman, a showman scientist.
Right, the Wizard of Menlo Park.
He understood that almost as important as the inventions themselves was how he presented them to the public. He meticulously designed visually dazzling experiments to capture the imagination, ensuring his demonstrations were as much entertainment as scientific revelation.
He made science a spectacle.
Furthermore, he wasn't afraid to speak of fantastic future inventions, like robots that could perform household chores or machines capable of thought photography in grand visionary terms. Crucially, he had absolutely no intention of pursuing many of these ideas.
Really, he was just talking.
Pretty much. But talking about them kept the public enthralled, constantly discussing his name and his boundless genius. And in a more cutthroat move, he actively worked to ensure he received more public attention than Nikola Tesla.
The rivalry.
Who might have been the more conceptually brilliant and visionary inventor, but was certainly less adept at self-promotion. Famously, in 1915, when it was rumored they would be joint recipients of the Nobel Prize, Edison allegedly turned it down, explicitly refusing to share the prize with Tesla.
Wow, just to deny Tesla the spotlight.
Exactly, denying his rival the shared limelight and solidifying his own solitary fame and legendary status. This illustrates that even in fields requiring profound intellect, the ability to court attention is absolutely crucial for securing funding, recognition, and ultimate power.
It truly is a cutthroat world, even in invention. Our sources provide a powerful, enduring image to encapsulate this: the limelight. In the golden age of theater, a single intense beam of light generated by heating lime would literally heighten the presence of an actor, making them glow, drawing all eyes to them. There was only room for one in its narrow beam.
So the instruction then is to do whatever it takes, to make yourself its singular focus, to achieve that heightened presence through large, amusing, and scandalous gestures that cut through the ordinary.
Baldassare Gracian, that keen observer of human nature and power, reinforces this sentiment beautifully. Be ostentatious and be seen. What is not seen is as though it did not exist.
So visibility is everything.
Display fills up many blanks, covers up deficiencies, and gives everything a second life, especially when it is backed by genuine merit. This emphasizes that visibility is not just a bonus, but a fundamental prerequisite for impact, influence, and even for existing in the public consciousness.
It's fascinating to consider how these strategies play out in the digital age, where a single sensational post or viral video can instantly put someone in the limelight globally, for better or worse.
Totally. It makes you think about how many online personalities, perhaps instinctively, are following Barnum's playbook, chasing virality through any means necessary to secure their space in the public eye.
It's an incredibly relevant question for today's media landscape, where attention really is the ultimate currency. Now, let's pivot to our second major pathway for commanding attention, one that might seem like the inverse of deliberate scandal, yet is equally potent, creating an air of profound mystery.
Okay, mystery. The core concept here is the power of the enigmatic in what our sources describe as a world growing increasingly banal and familiar.
Right, everything feels known.
As information becomes ubiquitous and everything feels instantly knowable, what seems truly enigmatic instantly draws profound attention. The key is to never make it too clear what you are doing or about to do.
Don't show all your cards.
Exactly. Don't reveal your full hand. An air of carefully cultivated mystery not only heightens your presence, but creates anticipation, can beguile and seduce, or even, when deployed strategically, instill a potent sense of fear.
Think about why we're so inherently drawn to unsolved puzzles, to cryptic pronouncements, to the allure of the unknown. This strategy masterfully taps into that fundamental human curiosity, that primal urge to figure things out.
And no one embodied constructed mystery with such devastating effectiveness, quite like Mata Hari.
Ah, the ultimate femme fatale.
Her story begins in Paris, around 1905, as rumors began to subtly spread through exclusive social circles.
These weren't just any rumors. They spoke of a young Oriental girl, a dancer, performing in private homes, wrapped in diaphanous veils that she gradually, tantalizingly discarded. A journalist, perfectly primed by the buzz, reported her as a woman from the Far East, laden with perfume and jewels.
The setup was key, too, right?
The setting for these early exclusive performances was incredibly deliberate and atmospheric. Small, select audiences gathered in intimate salons, deliberately filled with exotic Indian statues and other relics, kept waiting and wondering as an orchestra played haunting music inspired by Hindu and Javanese melodies.
Building the anticipation.
Then, after a carefully orchestrated delay, Mata Hari herself would dramatically appear in a truly startling costume. A jeweled brassiere, a sarong that was designed to reveal as much as it concealed, and bracelets adorning her arms. Her performance was a unique, almost trance-like dance style, reportedly telling stories from Indian mythology and Javanese folktales, presented with an air of profound authenticity.
And this meticulously curated, exclusive experience worked exactly as intended. Soon, the cream of Parisian society, influential ambassadors from far-off lands, prominent artists, they were actively competing for invitations, their desire fueled by persistent rumors that Mata Hari was actually performing sacred dances in the nude for these privileged few.
Wow. So the rumors just amplified the mystery.
This early success was built entirely on carefully cultivated intrigue, a potent blend of exoticism, sensuality, and tantalizing history.
She was also an absolute master of cultivating and constantly evolving her narrative, understanding that a fluid, mysterious story only heightened her allure.
So she kept changing her story.
Constantly. To journalists, her biography was a shifting tapestry of exotic tales. One day, she was Dutch in origin, but claimed to have grown up in Java. The next, she'd spent years in India learning sacred Hindu dances, boasting that Indian women can shoot straight, ride horseback, and are capable of doing logarithms and talk philosophy.
Okay.
Later still, she would claim a Javanese princess for a grandmother, weaving romantic tales of living in Sumatra, horseback riding, gun in hand, and risking her life.
What's fascinating is that the journalists didn't seem to mind the inconsistencies. They were almost active participants in constructing her myth.
They bought into it.
They compared her to an Indian goddess, a creature from Baudelaire, essentially seeing whatever their imagination wanted in this endlessly mysterious woman from the East. By the summer of 1905, her name was on everyone's lips, buzzing through Parisian society, even though relatively few Parisians had actually seen her dance. Her fame, fueled by this potent enigma, spread like wildfire across Europe, granting her a rare level of independence and power for a woman of her time.
Her first public performance in Paris caused an absolute sensation, almost a riot, cementing her status as a cult figure and sparking countless imitations. Reviewers lauded her, not for technical dance prowess, but for personifying all the poetry of India, its mysticism, its voluptuousness, its hypnotizing charm.
But then came the tragic, dramatic unveiling and her ultimate downfall.
Right, the spy accusations.
Near the end of World War I in 1917, her carefully constructed world shattered when she was arrested and controversially executed as a German spy.
And it was only during the subsequent sensational trial that her true, mundane identity finally emerged. She was Margaretha Zell, born in Friesland, Holland.
Just a regular Dutch woman.
Pretty much, with absolutely no Eastern blood, no grand lineage, and no genuine experience in sacred Hindu or Javanese dance whatsoever.
So the whole thing was a fabrication.
Our sources clarify that her colossal success wasn't due to exceptional beauty or inherent talent, both of which were described as merely adequate, but entirely to her ability to create an air of mystery about herself. The true power of her persona lay in the atmosphere she meticulously created, her constant narrative changes, and her endless beguiling lies.
It's incredible.
As the sources put it so eloquently, people are enthralled by mystery because it invites constant interpretation, they never tire of it, the mysterious cannot be grasped, and what cannot be seized and consumed creates power.
It's truly incredible to think about how much of the enduring allure of certain public figures today, from enigmatic musicians who rarely give interviews to tech moguls with cryptic pronouncements or even political figures, relies on an enigmatic, often carefully constructed public image.
Yeah, we seem to be fundamentally drawn to those we can't quite figure out, those who keep a part of themselves deliberately hidden.
That brings us to the universal appeal of enigma, which our sources highlight as a profound key to power. In ages past, the world was saturated with terrifying and unknowable mysteries, disease, natural disasters, death itself.
Right, the world was much scarier in some ways.
Science and reason have, over centuries, illuminated much of this, gradually making the world seem more familiar, more predictable.
But this illuminating light, our sources contend, comes at a psychological price. In a modern world growing increasingly banal and familiar, where almost everything seems immediately searchable and explainable, we collectively secretly crave enigmas, people or things that cannot be instantly interpreted, seized, and consumed. There's a deep human need for wonder and the unknown.
The power, then, of the mysterious is immense, precisely because it taps into this craving. It invites layers of interpretation, excites our imagination, seduces us into believing that it conceals something marvelous, something profound.
It makes you watch.
It will almost always draw the limelight because the world has become so predictable that anything that wraps itself in an aura of enigma will inevitably make us watch it, speculate about it, and remain captivated.
And you don't need to be a grand showman or an exotic dancer to create this effect. Mystery, when woven into your day-to-day demeanor and is subtle, has that much more power.
So you can be subtly mysterious.
Exactly. The unfortunate truth is that most people are open books, entirely predictable in their reactions and disclosures. By simply holding back, by choosing strategic moments of silence, by employing ambiguous phrases, appearing subtly inconsistent, or even acting just a touch oddly, you will emanate an aura of mystery. Others, driven by their own need for answers, will then magnify that aura by constantly trying to interpret you, investing their own mental energy and attention into your enigma.
Think about some true masters of mystery, from notorious con artists to celebrated artists and even powerful political leaders. Take Count Victor Lustig.
The man who sold the Eiffel Tower. Twice.
That's him. Often heralded as the aristocrat of swindlers. He was a master of cultivating an image that was always just a little off-kilter, always intriguing. He'd show up at the most exclusive hotels in a luxurious limousine, often with a Japanese chauffeur. A highly unusual and exotic sight in his time, making him instantly strange and memorable.
He'd dress in impeccably expensive clothing, but always with something subtly out of place, like an unfamiliar medal or an unusual armband, which was perceived not as tasteless, but as oddly intriguing.
Little details that make you wonder.
In hotels, he'd ostentatiously receive a constant stream of fake blank telegrams, tearing them up nonchalantly, as if dismissing matters of immense global importance. He'd sit alone in the lobby reading impressive-looking books, maintaining a slight, aloof smile. Within days, the entire hotel would be buzzing with speculation and intense interest in this strange, unfathomable man.
All this carefully constructed attention allowed Lustig to lure his suckers in with astonishing ease. They weren't just targets. They would literally beg for his confidence, desperate to understand the distracting enigma he presented.
So the mystery made them vulnerable.
This made them incredibly easy targets for his elaborate cons, as they were far too busy trying to figure him out to notice they were being systematically robbed blind. It speaks to the power of misdirection inherent in mystery.
An air of mystery, it seems, can even make the mediocre appear intelligent and profound. It made Mata Hari, a woman of relatively average appearance and intelligence, seem like an exotic goddess.
Right.
Marcel Duchamp, the revolutionary artist, famously played this trick with his groundbreaking works. He would say very little about his art, instead teasing critics and the public with alluring, even contradictory comments, deliberately letting others try to make sense of his challenging pieces, knowing their interpretations would only add to his mystique.
This is a key insight. Mysterious people inherently put others in an inferior position, compelling them to expend mental energy trying to figure them out, which often elicits a certain, almost primal fear of the uncertain.
Great leaders instinctively understand this. Mao Zedong, for example, cleverly cultivated an enigmatic image, deliberately not worrying about seeming inconsistent or contradicting himself.
He embraced contradiction.
His very contradictoriness meant he always had the upper hand because his actions and words were perpetually open to multiple interpretations. No one, not even his own wife, truly understood him, which only made him seem larger than life and ensured constant public attention and intellectual fascination.
So if your position limits the possibility of cultivating complete, all-encompassing mystery, what then? What if you can't be that enigmatic?
Our sources suggest that you must at least be less obvious in your predictability. Act in ways that don't quite mesh with others' perceptions or expectations to keep them perpetually on the defensive, thereby drawing a powerful, unsettling form of attention.
Keep them guessing.
Done right, the creation of enigma can also draw the kind of attention that strikes genuine terror into your enemies.
This leads us to the classic feigned madness of Hamlet tactic, famously employed by the legendary Carthaginian general Hannibal during the Second Punic War.
Ah, Hannibal and the Romans.
Hannibal found himself trapped by the Roman general Fabius in a marshy, mountainous terrain with all mountain passes blocked. Fabius was ecstatic, convinced he finally had Hannibal's formidable army cornered, poised for decisive victory.
But in the middle of that fateful night, Roman sentries guarding the passes saw a truly mysterious sight. A huge, snaking procession of thousands and thousands of lights heading directly up the mountain.
Lights? What kind of lights?
If this was Hannibal's army, it had suddenly grown 100-fold, an impossibly vast force. The sentries argued heatedly amongst themselves, desperately debating interpretations. Were there Roman reinforcements? Hidden Carthaginian troops performing a flanking maneuver? Ghosts? Demons? No explanation made any logical sense to them.
Total confusion.
As they watched, utterly captivated and increasingly terrified, fires suddenly broke out all over the mountain, spreading rapidly, and a horrible noise rose up to them. A cacophony like the blowing of 1,000,000 horns, screams and bellows, echoing through the night.
Just chaos.
Terrified and utterly bewildered, even the bravest Roman sentries fled their posts in a panic, abandoning their crucial positions. By the next morning, Hannibal and his entire army had escaped, moving unimpeded through the now unguarded passes.
So what was it? What was the trick?
His brilliant trick. Hannibal had simply tied bundles of twigs to the horns of the thousands of oxen that traveled with his troops. At a predetermined moment, he had lit these bundles, setting the oxen stampeding up the mountain.
Oxen with burning horns.
As the flames burned down to the oxen's sensitive skin, they stampeded wildly in all directions, bellowing like mad and inadvertently setting even more fires. The key was not just unpredictability, but creating a puzzle that captivated the sentries' attention and gradually terrified them. It was a scene that cannot be read, inspiring profound fear and making his forces seem impossibly larger, more numerous, and more terrifying than they actually were.
The feigned madness of Hamlet, tactic using mysterious, illogical, and unsettling behavior to disorient and ultimately defeat an opponent. It's about creating a riddle, a paradox that demands attention but offers no easy answer, paralyzing those who try to solve it.
As Balthasar Gracian, ever the astute observer, wisely counseled, if you do not declare yourself immediately, you arouse expectation. Mix a little mystery with everything, and the very mystery stirs up veneration.
Veneration even.
And when you explain, be not too explicit. In this manner, you imitate the divine way when you cause men to wonder and watch. This encapsulates the profound power of the unexplained, not just to draw eyes, but to command a deep, almost reverential respect.
Okay, now, after all this talk of relentlessly courting attention, of embracing scandal and cultivating enigma, we need to talk about a critical, often overlooked aspect, the reversal.
Right, the limitations, the dangers.
Because there are very real dangers to the overuse and misapplication of these powerful tactics. Attracting attention is absolutely crucial in the beginning of your rise when you're striving to make your mark, but as you climb higher and establish yourself, you must constantly adapt. You cannot simply keep doing the same thing indefinitely.
That's right. The warning from our sources is clear and unambiguous. Never wear the public out with the same tactic. An air of mystery, for instance, works wonders, but it must seem measured and under control.
It can go too far.
We see this lesson vividly with Mata Hari Revisited. She went too far with her fabrications, endlessly piling lie upon lie. Even if the spy accusation itself was false, her multitudinous and contradictory lies made her seem suspicious and nefarious to the authorities and the public alike.
So the mystery backfired.
Her once alluring mystery tragically transformed into a damning reputation for deceit. The key insight here is that the mystery you create must always seem like a game, playful and unthreatening. You must recognize when it risks crossing into genuine deception or manipulation and be prepared to pull back.
It's a razor-thin line, isn't it? What happens when a celebrity overshares to the point of tedium, or when a brand's carefully constructed mystique starts to feel manufactured, hollow, or outright deceitful?
The public turns quickly, especially now.
The public, especially in our hyper-aware age, often turns quickly and mercilessly. And then there's the critical aspect of respecting hierarchy and timing a truly nuanced art of strategic withdrawal.
Knowing when not to seek attention.
There are specific times when the need for attention must be deferred, when scandal and notoriety are the last things you want to create.
Precisely. The attention you attract must never offend or challenge the reputation of those above you. Not, at any rate, if they are secure in their position.
Don't upstage the boss.
If you transgress this unwritten rule, you won't appear grand or powerful. You will simply seem paltry but desperate by comparison, an insecure upstart. A powerful and cautionary historical example is the tragic downfall of Lola Montez.
Ah, Lola Montez.
She was a woman who rose from a humble, middle-class Irish background to become Franz Liszt's lover, and spectacularly, King Ludwig I of Bavaria's mistress and political advisor, a true master of attracting attention and leveraging it for power.
But she made a fatal error in London in 1850. She attended a performance of Shakespeare's Macbeth, a highly significant social event where everyone of consequence, including Queen Victoria and Prince Albert themselves, was present.
Okay, high stakes.
The strict social custom of the period dictated that everyone must be respectfully seated before the Queen arrived, stood and applauded her entry, and then sat down, acknowledging her supreme status. Montez, however...
She broke protocol.
Oh, yeah. She chose to appear dramatically late after the Queen was already seated. She made a grand, attention-grabbing entrance from the shadows to her private box, resplendent in a dazzling diamond tiara and a striking crimson velvet gown.
Oof, that's bold, maybe too bold.
Her calculated late arrival and ostentatious display was perceived not as confidence, but as a deliberate challenge, a direct affront to the Queen's authority and dignity. The royal couple, instantly recognizing this blatant transgression, deliberately avoided looking at Lola's box, subtly but unequivocally signaling their displeasure.
The royal snub.
The audience, attuned to such subtle cues of power, followed their example, and Montez was utterly ignored for the entire remainder of the evening, a devastating public snub. Her future in England was, from that moment, irrevocably finished.
Wow, just like that.
Her magnetic powers are reversed, our sources tell us. People would flee her sight. This is a crucial lesson in social intelligence and power dynamics. It is never in your interest to be the center of attention when in the immediate presence of a king or queen, or their modern equivalent in any hierarchical setting. Never appear overly greedy for attention, and never ever compete directly with those firmly above you.
This truly highlights how crucial it is to navigate attention in settings where hierarchy is paramount. Whether it's in a critical workplace meeting, a formal diplomatic event, or any social gathering with established power dynamics.
Yeah. Sometimes the most powerful and strategic move is not to seize the limelight, but to subtly and respectfully cede it, demonstrating an awareness of your place and the existing order.
Precisely. It's about a deep understanding of the context, the unwritten rules, and the power dynamics at play, knowing when to shine and when to dim the lights a bit.
So we've journeyed through the dynamic and sometimes ruthless landscape of attracting attention, from P.T. Barnum's sensational, controversy-courting spectacles and Pablo Picasso's deliberate artistic provocations,
to Mata Hari's enigmatic, meticulously constructed allure and Hannibal's terrifying, morale-breaking misdirection.
We've seen how absolutely vital it is to stand out, to be unforgettable, and to masterfully leverage both public curiosity and, surprisingly, even controversy.
But just as crucial as drawing the limelight, we've learned, is knowing when to strategically seed it, when to adapt your tactics, and when to prioritize your long-term reputation and security over fleeting, momentary notoriety.
Yeah.
Attention truly is a profoundly valuable commodity, and its management, its orchestration, is an intricate art. The greatest practitioners understand that enduring power isn't just about clamoring to get noticed, but about meticulously controlling the narrative and the very nature of that notice.
So, thinking about today, in an age of unprecedented digital visibility, where literally everyone has a platform to court attention with a single post, a viral video, or a carefully curated persona, do these ancient laws of power become more potent, or maybe less?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
As our digital lives amplify both our successes and our failures for all the world to see, how might you, the listener, apply these timeless insights to master your own presence and influence, recognizing when to shine brightly and when to strategically withdraw, perhaps even into the intriguing shadows, to maintain your power and mystique?